Hey everybody, Jason here. Hope everybody had a good weekend. This video is maybe more of a stream of thought more than it is a subject, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. But so I've been working on a couple of different game systems for a while now, and I've talked about that before in some previous videos. And I guess I'm sort of just recording this and putting it out there more so for myself than anybody else, because recording it may help me, and saying things out loud and verbalizing might help me further along a little bit better than just writing things down and having that type of stream of thought. But so this mechanics wise, like I said, I've been working on a couple of things. One of the systems I've been working on is a lunchtime 1 hour generic fantasy system that can be set in any world or whatever, but technically is a generic system to where it could be used for anything, although my intentions for it are really for fantasy. That's kind of what I'm basing the framework of it around. Another one that I'm working on is, again, another generic system, not built around 1 hour games. So it's not super snappy, fast, no math. It's going to have a little bit of crunch to it. Not a lot. It's not going to be rules heavy. I don't want to say it's going to be rules. It's more rules light than rules heavy, put it that way. It's going to be a mix between light and medium, I guess, somewhere around there. But I kind of want to, like I said, do a little stream of thought, get some things out of my head, see where my conversations will evolve and take me, and see where it kind of goes from there. Because I've kind of reached a spot where I know what I'm doing, I know what I want, but and all of it's going to come down to it being play tested and played, and dice being rolled, whether it's with a group, which is hard for me to do because I don't have a group really that has a lot of time to test games, because our group barely has time as it is to play our current 5th edition campaign. So I'll have to do a lot of testing probably on my own, and again, I don't have a lot of time for that because of life. But so I may just put it out there into the internet land and let you people play with it and see what you guys think of it or whatever. But anyway, I'm flip-flopping back and forth on using a D20 or a D12. I want to use a D12 because that's my favorite die, for one. And two, it's just uncommon. The D20 is so everywhere that I would like for something to not be D20. However, if it works out mathematically with the way I'm designing this system, that a D20 would work better, obviously I would go with that. But I've got a D12 in mind, and I've had a D12 in mind for a long time. And so originally I had this thing set to where it was 10 levels, and now I'm kind of wanting to scale it back because my fantasy, or my lunchtime, my 1 hour fantasy game that I've been working on is only 5 levels. And so I've taken a real interest in that power level, or that level of advancement, and it really seems to be a sweet spot for me. Also, some other books that I've read and games I've read only go up through 5 or 8 or so, 7 levels or something like that, and it just seems like it might be a sweet spot for me because the more you advance in levels, the more you're going to expect to be able to do or grow in power, or more hit points, or more whatever. There's a reason why you advance, okay? We all know this. You grow, you gain levels to get more powerful, to get more skills, to get more abilities, to get more power, and this and that. So I want to try and scale that back a little bit. I want it to be a little more grounded in reality. Not to say that it's a reality-based game and everything has to be perfectly, you know, grounded to the point to where it feels like a life sim. I don't want to do that. But more along the lines of, you know, non-superheroic fantasy. I don't want 20th level D&D superheroics. 10th level to me felt like it would be good, and you never know, maybe as I'm testing this out, 10th level will feel more like a proper fit than 5th level as far as advancement goes. But so I've been thinking about ways to make, there's gonna be no classes in the game because I want you to be able to build your character the way you want it to be without having some sort of restriction that a class might have. And I am going to have levels, but the levels aren't going to work. At least right now, my intentions are for the levels not to work like a typical level would be or would do. It's not going to be, you know, you level up, and at level 2 you get, you know, a few skill points to distribute. Level 3 you can pick a new feat. Level 4 you get more skill points. Level 5 you get a new, you know, it ain't going to be like that. And it's not going to be hit points going up every level either. There will be feats, which are going to be probably called talents, because I don't really like the term feat. It feels too much like D&D for me. So there will be talents, and there will be skills, and there very well could be a good number of skills. I don't want to have like 20 or 30 skills, but maybe, you know, 10, 15, maybe 10, 12 skills, maybe a dozen skills. I don't want there to be too little, and I don't want there to be too much. I don't want there to be like a skill for everything, because then you know, like I said in a previous video, the more options you have, the more limits you have. So I don't want it to be like that. But I do want there to be a comfortable number of skills. So unlike the 1 hour fantasy that I'm using or creating, which skills in that game just affect how the die roll works, in this game skills will be your traditional plus bonus to your die roll. And talents will be things like other abilities you might have, bonuses in certain situations, or things like that. You know what I mean? So it won't be anything you're not familiar with, or anybody's not familiar with. If you've played D20, it will, you know, 5th edition D&D or any version of 3rd plus D&D. Oh, that's cool. There's a big blimp up in there. You don't see that very often. Judging by where it's at and what it's driving around, I wonder why it's over there. And this guy's weaving through traffic like an idiot. Fucking moron. And so anyway, so the skills will be traditional, you know, like a +1 to your roll versus a target number. And the reason, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here, and this is something I've said a few times before. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm trying to grease the wheel to the point to where it's comfortable for me, and to where I like how well it rolls. Okay? And that's the best analogy I could think of. You know, don't try and reinvent the wheel. Just grease it to the point to where you're comfortable with how it rolls. And that's how I want my game system to flow. So, going from a D20 to a D12, I've got to rethink about how the math works for target numbers. With a D20, you can typically go, you know, 10, 15, 20, 25, you know, so on and so forth as far as difficulty numbers. In this, I want the skills to go from +0, or, you know, no skill at all, to +5. And one moment, my phone's ringing. Sorry about that. Okay, so skills will go from 1 to 5, except for one skill that you choose, which will be your focus skill. Whether it's tracking or cooking or survival or combat or spellcasting or art or crafting, whatever the case be, whatever skill it is, that one skill will have the potential to be able to go up to +6 rather than +5. And so I really love the idea of skills going up as you use them rather than just leveling up and putting points in them. Like say you level up to level 3, well, I'm going to put a couple points in this even though I've never used it before. I've never used survival, but I'm going to put a couple points in it because it might come in handy. In this, it's like Call of Cthulhu or Skyrim or Oblivion or whatever, the games, the Elder Scrolls games where your skills will go up if you use them. And that number will be limited by your level. So you cannot have a skill higher than your current level, a skill rank. So what will happen is, say you're level 2 and you want to raise your, stealth skill. So you say you make a stealth check, and regardless of whether you succeed or fail, you'll put a little, you'll color in a little dot or underline or circle the skill, whatever the case may be, and that will be a designator to say, look, I've used this skill, am I possibly going to learn from it? So what you'll do is you'll wait till the end of the adventure, and assuming the skill is not already your level, like say if your stealth skill is rank 1 but your second level, then you can circle it. And then at the end of the session, you can make an intelligence check, and depending on the target numbers set by the difficulty of how difficult that type of skill is to learn, you can raise it a rank. That was one idea I had. Another idea I had was, since there's only 5 ranks in skills, except for your focus, to make it, I don't want to say easier, but just to, I guess everyone doing it, once it's the end of the session and you want to roll to see if you learn from the skill, roll a d6. If you roll above your current rank, meaning say your current rank is 2, if you roll a 1 or a 2, it's nixed. If you roll a 3 or higher, you rank up to the next rank, which would be 3. And then once you're level or rank 5 in a skill that you can go to 6 in, just like getting to 5, you have to roll 6, you have to roll 6 again, just to keep it simple. So those are 2 ways I'm thinking of making skills an option to raise without just getting skill points to distribute. Learning skills would definitely be under the same branch of mechanic as far as making an intelligence roll to learn a skill. And I would probably put a limit on the number of skills you could learn. Maybe say your intelligence, say you have 14 intelligence, you could learn a maximum of 14 skills. I don't even know if there will be that many skills to begin with. I've got to think more on that. But this is just an idea, a train of thought from where I'm going. But to learn a new skill, you'd have to role play it out with your GM as to why you're attempting to learn a skill or why you would gain a rank in the skill. Once that's been determined between you and your game master, you would the game master would set either an amount of time or storyline training, something set in like an available opportunity in game to make your roll, and that would be an intelligence roll based on a target number that says how difficult a skill is to learn. Like, say you don't have any points in stealth. Moving silently and hiding in shadows and stuff is a fairly easy thing to do. Whereas, so it may have a difficulty number of 10, okay? Whereas if you want to learn how to hack a computer, that would probably be pretty damn hard. So maybe you'd have a difficulty number of 17 just to learn that first rank of that skill. And there could be other things like if you have ranks in, similar related skills, that could be a +1 bonus to your roll, for example. Like say you've got basic computer skills at, rank 3, or you've got a typing skill at rank 1. This is, whatever you want to put your skill at, or whatever skills you want in your game, that's going to be up to you. But if you have similar skills that you're skilled in, maybe each one of those skills could give you a +1 bonus to learning a related skill. That's just an idea. If that complicates the game too much or gets too mechanical or too, whatever, we'll see as things go along. This is just an idea. This is just a train of thought to see how well this is going to go, or how it's going to go. So it's just some ideas I had. Hit points. I'm gonna say, unless you take a talent that would raise them, probably will not raise as you level up. Or if they do, it will literally be like nothing we haven't seen before. It'll be something like, say, your Constitution score is your hit points, and every time you gain a level, you gain, whatever your current level is how many extra hit points you have. So, say your Constitution is 15, and you're a level 4. 15 plus 4 would be 19. You have 19 hit points. Maybe there would be a talent that gives you twice your level in hit points. So once you're level 5, you would have 10 extra hit points, which might not seem like a whole lot, but if you're talking about a gritty game, that could be 1 or 2 extra attacks you could survive. So that could be something, big. I'm trying to keep the math small and the scale small to stay somewhat grounded in a realistic setting, without being superheroes in Fantasyland like D&D is currently, but not to the point where you get hit once or twice, you're done, you're dead. And that might be an option, of course, but I don't want that to be the norm, the general idea of combat. But speaking of combat, I don't want to have just combat abilities, combat talents, combat skills. I want there to be social mechanics, because I'm just a person that feels like sometimes social mechanics can help people roleplay. And if you don't need mechanics to help you roleplay, that's awesome. But some people, I think it can help. So that's something I want to incorporate. I know with my group, having mechanics that can help roleplay would definitely help my players, some of my players, to roleplay better. So I want that option to be there to help those people. And so those are some of the ideas I was thinking about for this system I'm creating, and I've been working on for a long time. I've got a lot of notes written down. I need to organize them because I've got a ton of shit written down in a lot of places, and organizing would be probably a first step in getting this thing to a playable, testable state. So anyway, I'm almost home, and I'm going to turn this off here in a moment. One last thing I wanted to say also was weapon dice damage. I was thinking of just sticking with a D6 for your weapon damage, and I'm thinking about maybe making that a variable rate, maybe a D6, a D8, and a D10. I'm not sure, or thereabouts. And also armor, I keep going back and forth. Does armor make you harder to hit, or does armor absorb damage? That is a big thing I've been thinking about quite a bit because of the math involved and how small scale I want the math to be. I don't know. That's going to take a lot of play testing and dice rolling to figure out what works best for this. So anyway, like I said, I'm almost home. I will get off here and talk to you guys later. Little dog. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope everybody's playing some good games. And we will see you later. Bye.